Hi, everyone. Leila, are you able to see the invite in your from your end to be on the live with me? You can send it again if not. There we go. Yay!
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
It's always a little bit of a tricky process getting in the beginning.
Mhm. I've
I,
never
I'm
done this before, so I'm very excited.
well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm very excited to talk to you. You are one of my favorite authors, and your
Oh, thank
books
you.
are so wonderful. And I have a funny little story about the book that we're talking about tonight, and I'll get to that. But what usually happens here, just so we get this out of the way, is that I'll introduce myself, and then I'll hand the floor over to you to introduce yourself. And if you want, I can add you as a collaborator when the reel is done, and we can let it live on our space so people can watch it afterwards and ask questions afterwards if they weren't able to join and whatnot, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So, for everybody that's here and everybody that's going to be here in the future, welcome. So, some of you may have joined us before, but for those of you who haven't, this is for my Sweet Death Book Club. It's an online book club that meets once a month. We have a recommended book, and then we have an author talk at the end of the month. So, tonight we have Leila Taylor. Am I saying that correctly? Okay,
Yep.
wonderful. And we are talking about their book Sick Houses. Okay, so I'll tell the little story before I introduce myself just because I think it's so interesting. I had read your previous book, Darkly, before. I read it in 3 days. It was so good I couldn't put it down, and I just wanted to stay awake and read it. So I finished it in 3 days, and I was done, and I wanted more. And I was thinking to myself, I hope that she writes another book soon because I started looking for another book, and literally the next day you posted about this book, that this book was coming out, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited." So that's the story of that book, and yeah. So
Mhm.
anyway, okay, so I'm Lauren Seeley. I am a death and grief doula in the New York City area. I'm also a creative grief workshop facilitator. I did have a photo shoot earlier today, so that's why I have so much makeup on, not normally. Um, but yeah, so I like to have conversations with people that are in the space of death, doing different things, and so much more that I will get to another time. But that's how we ended up here. I have another book club that meets in person once a month called the Silent Book Club of Death NYC chapter. We don't do assigned reading, and there are just so many amazing books that I want to talk about. So that is how the Sweet Death Book Club was born. So enough about me. I'm going to hand the floor over to Leila. And Leila, tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Leila Taylor. I'm a writer, speaker, um, presenter. I do a lot of visual presentations about a variety of esoteric things that have to deal with the Gothic and popular culture and history and how the intersections of, well, Darkly is about the intersection of Black history, particularly in the Gothic, but also about things like horror movies and that genre and how that intersects with our regular culture and our history. And I'm also a designer. I'm creative director at Brooklyn Public Library, which is my day job, so to speak. So by day, I manage the in-house design department at the library, and by night I give PowerPoint presentations on weird stuff.
I love it. So, and I think that, reading your book, it was just like there was so much good information in there. The first book that I read, Darkly, so much information that you never see anywhere when having those conversations, especially around Gothic culture and how it plays into our society and the Black history of it. So I just absolutely love that book. I'd love to talk more about that, but I know that we're here to talk more about sick houses. So um, I have a few questions. I don't know that we'll get around to all of them, but I just am happy to see where this goes as a fluid conversation and not structured.
Mhm.
So I guess the first question I usually ask is tell us a bit about why this book came to be and what started you on your journey to writing about sick houses.
Well, I've always loved, I get crushes on buildings. I get obsessed with certain houses or certain buildings. So there's that. My dad is an architect, which probably means something. But I have this fascination with architecture and buildings, and why some houses or some buildings are have more of a presence or feel eerie or strange for whatever reason. I feel like houses and buildings kind of have their own spirit or soul, so to speak, and sometimes those are louder than others. And why am I drawn to some buildings more than others? And I'm also a big fan of horror movies, specifically haunted house movies, and books, and the genre in general of haunted houses. Um, and I was thinking there was actually one particular house that I saw that started this whole thing, which was a house, and it's the first house that I talk about in the book, which is a house in New Orleans. And I walked by, or I saw a picture of it online, really randomly. And it was so strange to me. It looked like a house that had been cut in half, and it was pink, right? And I was like, there's something weird. There's something weird about this house and the way it's designed. And it just gave me, heebie-jeebies. Found out later it's because it's the slave quarters and it was connected to the main house. And the reason why it's sort of cut in half is because the front of that house faces the main house. So there is no entryway to that house, because the entryway would be through the main house. So there is no, and there was something about the kind of deferential, the autumn, the way it's designed feels very submissive, even if it's architecture. Like it might be two floors, and these are popular. There are many of them, like all over the South. But the main house, let's say, has 3 stories. The slave quarters might also have 3 stories, but they're shorter. The ceilings are lower. So no matter how many stories there are, even if they're equal, the slave quarters are going to be lower. So this house is literally looking up at the quote unquote master's house, right? Um, so I saw that and I got inspired to write a novel. This started as a novel, and I'm not good at fiction. I'm not very good at making up stuff. And I got far more interested in the research about the house than I did about the characters I was developing. And I was like, I think this is a nonfiction book. And so that's where it started. But the other side of that is why are haunted houses, why is the haunted house such a mainstay in fiction, in the horror genre? And I think it's kind of this given that, oh yeah, haunted houses, they're scary. It's the default, right? And I was just like, well, but why? Why is
Yeah.
that? And I think it's because of how we feel about houses and what houses mean to us personally, culturally, socially, and horror as a genre kind of messes with that. It fucks with that. So it plays with the way we feel about our home in various ways, to evoke dread or fear or what have you. But if houses didn't mean that much to us, there would be no horror genre of haunted houses. It all has to do with what the home means to us. Yeah.
Yeah. And I understand that completely. I mean, I think that, for most people, you visualize, or for all people actually, you visualize the home being a safe place.
Hmm.
And so having stories about homes not being safe in a way that you can't quite explain,
Yeah.
because you can explain a house that's not safe when there's an explanation for it, whether
Hmm.
it's like, family structure or problems or things like that. But you can't explain an unsettling presence in a home.
No.
So it's, and not, I think that there's also like people that are fascinated by haunted houses and that don't feel fear from them. They feel
Hmm.
fascination from them. I
Hmm.
personally love haunted houses and I go to places that are haunted specifically because I want to have an experience there.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I think that that's because as somebody that works in death care, those ideas just change. You just kind of you realize like, oh, a ghost or a spirit or a presence is just a person that was once alive. Now this person doesn't have a body anymore. And, is that so scary? Maybe not. They just don't have a
Hmm.
body anymore. Are they angry? Are they going to hurt you? Or are they just lost? There's
Yeah.
lots of things to sort out. But then you start thinking about um, you know, malicious presence.
Hmm.
And, that's where it gets really complicated. And that's where the stories get really scary. And so, there's cute stories about haunted houses like
Hmm.
Casper, right?
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And as a kid, like, oh my gosh, I would love to have Casper in my house.
I know.
But what scares us is the idea that something could cause harm or something is
Hmm.
watching us or something is meant to upheave us from our safe place. And so
Yeah, yeah.
um, I guess that was kind of that got me thinking. And I know I had messaged you like a while back because I was thinking about the death house, the House of Death in Manhattan,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and just the strange, like almost like cursed
Yeah,
situations that have happened around that house. And I
yeah.
started thinking more about psychic imprints and energetic stains that
Hmm.
are left on houses. And you talk about that a lot in the book.
Hmm.
If something happens in a space, not necessarily within walls, but just
Yeah.
in a space, like in a field, a graveyard, or something like that, and something is built on top of it, is it still a haunted space?
Yeah.
Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So,
Well, there's this theory that's come to be known as the stone tape theory. But the kernels of this idea started in like the 1850s, I think. But it's the idea that stone materials like stone, brick, wood, what have you, can absorb sort of the energy of some event, some traumatic event, and leave an imprint, almost like a recording. And the theory or the idea is that there are some people who are sensitive enough to pick up that playback of that recording. And that a ghost, or what we think of as a ghost or a spirit, isn't in the same timeline. It's not someone who's currently here or a spirit that's currently here. It's like watching a recording of an event that happened in the
mm-hmm.
past. And it became known as the stone tape theory because there's a BBC made for TV movie that was done, I think, 72, 73. That's called the stone tape theory. That's about that. But I like that idea because I like the idea of a ghost staying because of unfinished business or a spirit remaining because of some terror makes me so sad. It makes me very
Yeah.
sad. So I like the idea that when if someone sees a ghost or there's a haunting happening, I think of it kind of as time overlapping, like the past and the present, sort of maybe that's happening at the same time. So I always kind of I like that theory. Like it also explains why ghosts walk through walls. A house might change. You have furniture is here, the couch is there, there was a wall there, the bathroom's there. And when they lived, they had a pattern that they walked, bedroom, bathroom, kitchen, etc. Right? They die, someone else takes over, they knock down a wall, they move the couch, everything's different. But the path that that person took in their daily life remains the same, even though there might be a wall there now, or there might be a different couch there now. But that recording stays the same. So yeah, so I always liked that idea of the material of the earth, or the material that we use to actually build our homes, can act as almost like a recording device.
That is actually a lot sadder or less sad. It's a lot less sad to think about than that being an actual trapped spirit or a spirit with unfinished business.
Yeah, yeah.
And I never really thought about it that way, as like what happens if there's a remodel and they're used to this like pattern, and so the remodel happens but the pattern stays the same and they continue to,
Mhm.
and that would explain so much about the walking through walls.
Yeah.
Um, and also, so I have we have a beach house in Oregon. It's haunted.
Mm.
It's actually haunted. And we think it's a couple. It's like a man and a woman. And that house has been in my husband's family since like the 50s.
Wow.
Everyone growing up in
Wow.
that house has experienced them
Yeah.
and has seen them and has heard them. And it's just a normal part of that vacation home. It's
Hmm.
just you talk to them when you get there, you let them know, hey, we're here, and just so we don't catch you off guard.
Nice.
They're very noisy. Very
They.
noisy. Yeah, they can be very noisy in the middle of the night, but the thing is, it doesn't feel scary. It
Mm.
feels like they're part of the family. I mean, they've just been there so long, and the family has gotten used to them being there. They've gotten used to
Mm.
seeing them. They've gotten used to, um, hearing them. And we had this thing where we didn't tell anybody ever that came to the house that it was haunted. We just wanted to see like what happened, if they saw anything or heard anything. And
Yeah.
some people did, and they got really upset with us for not telling them. But it's like, well, not everybody has seen them, and we didn't want to freak you out. So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
um, again, it's like, um, I think that when you get used to them, if they are part of your home and you live in a haunted house, or if you are used to staying in a haunted space, and they're familiar, then
Hmm.
it doesn't feel as threatening as if you go into a place and like books are flying off the shelf and
Right.
you're like, are they trying to tell me to get out?
Right.
We're just coexisting together like Beetlejuice and the Maitlands. But yeah, so I do like the idea of them being of it. I'm gonna have to watch that now because that sounds really
I know.
interesting,
Yeah.
and I
It's
haven't heard
great.
that. Um, but also, like, as far as what are your thoughts on? Okay, so this is actually a conversation I had earlier today, and it feels relevant. But the difference between like a ghost, a spirit, and energy, like how they
Mhm.
can inhabit a space. Do you
Yeah.
think there's a difference, or are they just different opinions or different perspectives?
I mean, I think that's interesting. I think ghost and spirit to me feels a bit interchangeable. Energy feels like something different, and I'm not quite sure what that is. Um, I don't think that. I think again, when I say ghost or spirit, like I don't know 100% sure that ghosts exist, but
Yeah.
it's what I think of. It's the word that we use. It's what we know. Whatever that is, whatever that thing that kind of lingers on, that's of ourselves, of our identity, our memory, all of our experience. I do think that lingers somewhere. I think that goes somewhere. Maybe it stays in the same kind of form as when we were alive. You know, maybe it is sort of a classic ghost situation where the person looks like they did and they dress like they did. They're just in a kind of ethereal plane where they're not quite here, where it's like a recording, where it's like a picture of someone of how they lived. But I think if there's something, again, there's something very traumatic, very substantial happened in a place, I don't know if necessarily a person would need to be attached to that place for it to have kind of bad vibes. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I mean, I think when I think of a haunting, I think of, or a ghost, I think of a person or
Hmm.
people for whom something happened in that space, right? Um, and energy, I feel, is broader. And it could be that, I mean, it's interesting. We're living on top of a cemetery everywhere in America. We're basically living on top of bodies, right?
Yes.
Um, and I think there's some places that, you know, kind of absorb that trauma somehow, you know, where, like, it's interesting. I was talking to someone about New Orleans and what I liked about New Orleans, what she wasn't so crazy about New Orleans. And she talked about how much the history of it is so present. And I was like, yeah, it's like thick. It's like thick with its history there, with its past. It's like in the air somehow. And it's the only way I can really describe it. And I feel like that's sort of an accumulation of the history of the place. Not necessarily one person inhabiting a house. I think it's sort of the general experiences of what happened there that might give it that that feeling, you know. Or if anyone visits a battleground, you know, like the Civil War, that's
Yeah.
not necessarily haunted. I don't think, because again, when I think of haunted, I think of one person in one place. Um, I think it's the energy of what happened there, and the kind of collective memory or whatever of the experience that's kind of, you know, planted itself in the soil a bit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, if that makes any sense. I never really thought about it that way. Yeah.
And like it maybe if a way to like think about energy, like a psychic imprint, I guess, or an energetic stain is like an accumulation of things that
Yeah.
have occurred or events that have occurred or of spirits that have passed. So like a large like a melting pot, I guess, of things
Yeah.
that have happened. Because okay, so originally I'm from Portland, Oregon before I moved here. And I love haunted stuff. There's a lot of haunted history there. But I did a tour in my 20s of the Shanghai tunnels.
Hmm.
And if you, I was a bartender too when I was younger, and a lot of the bars in Old Town, they have that downstairs portion that is connected to the Shanghai tunnels. It was closed off to become a business. Does not change the fact that you can feel things down there. It's, yeah, sure, it's a basement now, but there's a history there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd always felt that going downstairs, that just unsettling, uncomfortable feeling of being in that space and just
Yeah.
knowing that really bad things have happened there. And I would do whatever I needed to do, and I'd run upstairs really fast because I did absolutely did not want to be in that space, especially if I was by myself.
Yeah.
Um, but then I went on one of the tours through the where you go down into like through and then around, and then you get to actually see artifacts that were left behind.
Oh, wow.
They coated the floor in broken glass. They took their shoes so that people couldn't escape, and if they could find them.
Oh my God.
There was a place where they had the bars where they would keep people imprisoned before they would ship them off because they would get people drunk, have them fall through the hatch, and then they would become prisoners down there, and then they would take them overseas.
Oh my God.
And everything down there was so heavy. And I mean, they said if you're, if you feel comfortable doing it, put your hands through the bars. And that
Mm,
in itself, like, just completely brought me to tears because I was like, how
mm,
many people were here doing this? And it's like any place that anything tragic on a large scale has happened. You know, if you're sensitive, you're going to feel that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the same, like that same, like you can just tell, like, think something really bad happened down here.
Yeah.
I know that. I
Yeah.
see things left behind, evidence left behind that people were here and aren't, you know, and they were never seen again.
Yeah.
But it's just like, even though that's gone and that's over, it will never take that heaviness out
Yeah.
of that space. It will never go away. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you have to wonder, like, how many places like that, not like that necessarily, but just places where things like that exist, and then something is built on top of it like it never happened, and you're still in that space and you're feeling uneasy and uncomfortable, and you have no idea why.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what makes it so fascinating about haunted spaces and haunted houses, is that you don't actually sometimes understand what you're feeling, but you know you're feeling something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the thing I found interesting about that house in New Orleans, that pink house, was I was just looking at a photo on the internet. Like I wasn't even physically there, and it gave me the creeps.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And when
Um,
you break it down too, like explaining exactly what it is and why, that, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I think it has nothing to do with or that feeling necessarily. We attribute haunted houses to the old decrepit Victorian mansion or something like that, or there's something about the building itself that you know, very fall of the House of Usher house, right?
Yes.
Um, but I there's a one branch, and I'm not going to say the branch because again, I work for the library, and me and two other colleagues walked in, and we had never visited this particular branch before. And we walked in, and all three of us were like, something, something's weird here. Something went down here. Like all three of us had the exact same feeling at the same time. You know, and this is a building that was hardly built in the 60s, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's inhabited, you know, there are children, it's a workplace, it's a working library, there's lots of life happening in this space. But there was something about it that just felt like, I don't know what happened before this was a library, but something happened wherever this spot is, I think. And I just thought it was fascinating that all of us had that same sort of feeling at the same time, independently walking into there.
Would you say
Yeah.
that the three of you were like sensitive, or just in general it just happened? Like it just happened.
I think it just happened. I mean, um, I wouldn't say they were particularly, I mean, it's not even something that we talked about, you know,
You
I
just
mean,
felt
I
it.
don't, yeah, or it isn't something that, like at work, we wouldn't talk about how we felt about these things. You know, it was very random, you know, um, but yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing too, is like, there, I mean, it doesn't matter if something, and I've always believed that too, like, something is built on top of it, it doesn't change the fact that that imprint is still there, you know,
Yeah,
that energy
yeah,
is still there. It makes me think about um the, you know, the apartments that Jeffrey Dahmer lived in,
oh,
right?
yeah, yeah,
And yeah, everybody wanted them torn down,
hmm,
and they didn't. They're like, you know, these are, you can't live here, nobody can live here anymore, you know. And it's like, it's not there anymore, those apartments aren't there anymore. But if something went up in its place,
yeah,
would it still have that feeling? And I mean, it's, I wish I had a better example to use of something like really, really awful that happened specifically where they asked to have it torn down.
yeah, yeah.
But then you wonder, like, okay, well, if a new condo building went up over the space, would it still feel the same as it did? Or did it only feel that way because people had been living there? They knew what they had been feeling. They knew what they had been smelling. They know,
Yeah.
like, they knew. what was happening there. And so just getting rid of it is like just like wiping that out and not letting anyone else have to ever inhabit that space.
Yeah. Yeah.
But would those things still exist if something new went up in its place?
I don't know. Can you haunt an empty lot? I think about that sometimes. This is going off on a little tangent, but I'm going to come back.
No, please
I
do.
think about the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, and how many people were either thrown off or jumped off into the
Yeah.
ocean. I'm like, can the ocean be haunted? Is that something like what space? What do you need in a space for it to be quote unquote haunted?
Yeah.
But the thing about places like that, places where there was really something really big and basically infamous
Yeah.
houses, I think it's not only the the spirit or the side of things where people might feel some kind of energy, just culturally, whoever lives there, they're always going to be known as you're living in Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment. You're living in the place where Jeffrey Dahmer lived. Like I think about the Amityville Horror House, right?
Mm-hmm.
They had to change the facade and change the actual address because so many people came to take pictures. It's just plain old tourism.
Yeah.
I just finished watching this documentary about John Wayne Gacy, and I'm fascinated by his house because so many people were right underneath him. He killed these people and
Yeah.
buried them right underneath his feet, like
Yeah.
33. There were like 30 or something like either 29 or 30 bodies right underneath his feet in his crawl space, right?
Yeah.
And his place was torn down. I actually don't know if there's a house that was built in its place. I can't imagine living on that lot,
Yeah.
because it's so stained. It's so stained. I think it would take a really, really long time, decades, maybe generations, before that plot stops being that's where John Wayne Gacy lived. you know so I think
Yeah.
there might be a spiritual imprint, there might be a psychic imprint, but there's also a social and cultural imprint that's a bit stronger and a bit more obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fascinated by I talk about Ed Gein's house. That was another one where it was torn down. But people still go to see it. People still go to see the plot where it lived because they're fascinated and I am fascinated too by these things, and the structures in which they happened. You know,
Yeah.
um, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the website Died in House?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
good. I get on there. Okay, so I don't really spend much time engaging on social media. I post
Mm.
whatever or comment on my friends' things or something that resonates and kind of move on. I'm not really and I'm not calling this trolling. That's not what this is, but I will have conversations with people on those posts sometimes because I just like sometimes, there will be a house like that that comes up and it's for sale and you're like,
Yeah,
what? It's for
yeah,
sale. Someone's going to live in that it's like the what was the Warren house, right?
yeah,
The
yeah,
Warren
yeah.
house, right? And so, they always post it, they talk about it, and then they say, "Would you live here?" I have to
Right,
read the comments. I have to know who
right.
would live there. And there's people
Yeah,
that say, I would live there. It wouldn't bother me. And I'm like,
yeah,
what do you mean? It
yeah,
wouldn't bother you?
yeah.
Which part? Like
Right, right.
spiritually, culturally, like the
Yeah,
history, like, and so I've had like conversations on just those posts alone where I like get into lengthy conversations with people. I just want to know why. Like, why would you
yeah,
live there? How are you
yeah,
okay with it? Do you like the
yeah.
house? Is it the structure? Like, what is it
Yeah,
about the house that you would want to live in that for?
right.
And there's a lot of people that just say, I'm not bothered by the history. I'm not bothered I'm not sensitive to ghosts, I'm not sensitive to energy, and I'm like, that's great. I'm
That's
so
great for
glad for
you.
you. Yeah.
That's
There's
awesome for
no
you.
way. Yeah, there's no, I mean,
Yeah.
even if I couldn't feel anything in a space like
Hmm.
that, absolutely would not want to live there knowing what had
Yeah.
happened, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm very sensitive to things like that, so there's no way I could live in a space like that. But
Yeah.
even just being here, it's like, in New York, like there's a lot of history in these old
Yeah.
buildings that, my building's
Yeah.
200 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
Things have happened in this building.
Absolutely. Absolutely. There have been a lot of people dying. Yeah, that's the fascinating thing I think about being in New York or any big
Yeah.
city is that like you talked about the death house, right? And I'm like, I think there probably were a whole lot of other apartments that may not have been that bad, or maybe they were as bad that had that many sort of murders in it. It's just they weren't in the papers or they weren't, significant or thought about enough to report on. I mean, I think the comment about like I don't when people say like, oh, I don't care about the history or it doesn't bother me, a part of me is like that willingness to just forget kind of bothers me. Like I think I could possibly live in a house where something happened, but I would have to acknowledge it, and
Yeah.
I'd probably read up about it and study it and I don't know, do something to kind of honor the people that live there. If I was to live in a house where something incredibly tragic happened, I don't think going, oh, that's in the past, it doesn't matter. I'm like, I don't know, the past is pretty, present all the time.
Yeah.
The past is with us a lot,
Yeah.
so I think it's okay. Um, yeah, I think if you're someone who um picks up on energy really, really strongly, maybe not so much, but I'm not that sensitive. I don't really, but I honor history,
Yeah.
and I like the idea of saying I know what happened here. And
Yeah.
I remember what happened here. I mean, I am sure. I mean, I think my building was built, I think in 19, like in 20 something or whatever. I'm sure people have died, probably right where I'm standing in that time period, Um, but I think just the fact that I'm like, yeah, this place has some history. I know that this place had some history. Who knows what the neighborhoods have changed, the populations have changed. I think part of a quote unquote haunting again is sort of time overlapping.
Yeah.
Um, and I kind of like that. I like the idea of uh, the past and the present being aware of each other in some way
Yeah.
or acknowledging each other in some way.
Just some form of like time travel that happens with
Hmm.
spirits and dying is like, yeah, time is real for us, I guess, but is it really real anyway? Like
I
it's
know.
just kind of made up, but
Yeah.
also, when we die, like we have no idea what time looks like. We don't know what
Right.
you
Right.
could be living in so many different places at once. You
Oh
could be
yeah.
in different dimensions. You could be,
Yep.
um,
Did you
but
see A Ghost Story, the movie A Ghost
mhm.
Story?
I was
I
thinking
thought,
about that earlier.
yeah, it's so lovely. I thought it was just this beautiful meditation on that idea of what happens when the world moves on around around you after you die and you're still here. I love that movie so much.
Yeah, that I was thinking about that movie earlier when we started talking, but I couldn't remember the name of it.
Hmm.
Um, I had this, my husband and I were having this conversation off and on for like a couple of years that would come up and we'd revisit it and have conversations about if you were a ghost or if you were a person and you died in a house and that was your house, right? And then all of a sudden someone buys your property and they bulldoze your house and they build another house, would you still be able to inhabit that house as a
I
ghost?
know.
Or is it
I
just like,
know.
that's it? Your house is gone. Like, because I know
I
that like
know.
energetically it can still exist after a new space is built over it. We know that, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
But what about just a ghost? Like just a
I
simple like
know.
ghost wandering the halls,
Yeah.
looking for their long lost love. and their house gets bulldozed. And, and honestly, having the conversation about it being like a time loop makes me feel a lot better about that, because
Yeah.
I would rather that's what was happening than a person is just like, what is this all of a sudden?
I
It's like
know. I
Beetlejuice,
know.
it's like
Right.
Beetlejuice
Right.
when they go into they go visit Juno, and then they come back and it's like the time has, where's the time gone? And all of a sudden their house is like totally different. And they're like,
Yeah.
what?
Right.
So that's probably where the original idea stemmed from, was like, is that something that could really happen? Like
I
if you're a
know.
ghost. But
I know.
um, I just completely lost my previous thought. I was going to, I was going to ask about. Yes, yes. Okay. Okay. So a place like Gacy's house, no, like absolutely not, for a number of reasons, would not want to live there, right?
No. Yeah.
But like, what about like the Winchester house?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
because
I love the Winchester house. The Winchester house, the house that Sarah Winchester built, um, is not haunted. No one has reported it being haunted. It was given this sort of name as this mystery house. Like Sarah Winchester, she basically was a big fan of architecture and she loved to build things, right? And she was rich. She was really, really, really rich. So
yeah.
she could afford to pay a construction crew to like, keep building as long as she wanted them to. And apparently she also paid her crew like twice as much as regular crews. And she called their house her hobby house. It was almost like this three-dimensional sketchbook. And for people that know, the Winchester House, also known as the Winchester Mystery House, in San Jose, San Diego. Why am I
San
forgetting?
Jose.
San Jose. Um, it is a massive sprawl where of a house with I don't, like hundreds of windows and stairs that go to nowhere and doors in the floor, and it's this crazy chaotic, seemingly chaotic house, right? And the rumor was started well when she was still alive. Well, she was a bit of a recluse. She didn't particularly like going out in society and stuff like that. She was building this crazy house. And this idea was started that she was the heir to the Winchester rifle fortune. And all of the ghosts of all the people who died from Winchester rifles were commanding her to keep building. And if she stopped building, that she would die. Or there are different variations of that, or that she would go have seances and the ghost would tell her what to build, and then
Hmm.
she would build that. Um, and none of it is true. It was just because she wasn't really talking about it, because she wasn't a society person. She was a wealthy woman who didn't like host parties the way the other wealthy women did of her age. So they made up a story about it instead, and it kind of stuck. And when she died, Houdini actually kind of named it the Mystery House, the Winchester Mystery House, and it became a tourist attraction. But the reality is, um, she was just an extremely wealthy woman who used her house like a sketchbook. And the other thing is, after the great big San Francisco earthquake, huge amount of damage all over the city, right? And what the other wealthy people did was rebuild. There was a big push to rebuild the city as it was. Sarah's house got a lot of damage, and she was like, nah, I don't want to rebuild it the way it was. That's boring. So there are areas where there was damage from the earthquake that it's just boarded up, it's just blocked off. Hence, you have a staircase going
Oh,
nowhere. Like there
yes.
used to be something there, but she blocked it off.
Yes.
It's famous for there's a door. If you go on the outside, there's like a door to nowhere, and you open up the door, and there's a drop to the ground. It's because there was a balcony there, and she never replaced it. But she also did a lot of really innovative things. Like there's this staircase going to the second floor that goes around and around and around. Like the rise of the stairs is only about an inch. So it takes about 7 flights to go essentially one stair.
Yeah.
And it's weird. It's bizarre, right? And someone said, "Oh, it's to confuse the ghosts or what have you." No, it's because she had really, really bad arthritis. So she had them build really stairs with really tiny risers so she could get around easier. Um, yeah, but so I would absolutely stay in the Winchester house.
I've never thought about it that way,
Yeah,
like at all. I mean, thinking about her house, the earthquake and the damage never ever entered my mind of, oh, that's
yeah,
why it's built like that.
yeah.
I got to see the house about a decade ago.
Hmm.
I'm from that area originally, Santa Cruz,
Mm,
like growing up as a kid, teenager, and then Portland. And I was obsessed with that house, and my
yeah.
parents just never wanted to go there. And so I
Oh,
finally got to see it like 10 years ago
yeah,
and just absolutely fell in love with it and was like,
yeah,
oh my
yeah,
gosh, this is such a cool house. And I
yeah.
didn't feel anything unsettling there,
No, me neither.
just like a kid in a candy store. I mean,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
wow, like what a cool house.
yeah.
And I mean, she just seemed like she was cool, like she seemed
Right, yeah,
like I don't want to go hang out with you guys and do your little parties. I'm gonna
yeah,
work on drawing my dream house over here in
yeah, yeah.
Tiffany glass and
And completely self-taught. She read
yeah.
architectural engineering books, was really good with money, so she handled all the finances. She also did things that were really innovative, particularly for her staff, for the women in her staff. Like she had a sink built where the kind of a scrubbing thing with the bumps on it and you like
Hmm.
scrub, yeah. So that was built into the sink to make it easier for her staff to wash clothes. There are these little corners that are built into the stairs that we think of like, oh, you just use them as dust traps in old houses. It's these little, I keep doing this as if you can see my hands,
No,
but
I can.
yeah, okay, yeah, good. Um, but there are these little sort of metal corners that fix into the edges of stairs that she invented so it'd be easier for people to sweep. So she did all of these things. Also, she had a shower well before lots of other people did. She had it installed with the shower heads lower than one would, because she'd get her hair done in this crazy big hairstyle. I was like, I don't want to mess up my hair, so we're
Smart.
gonna, yeah, yeah. So she did a lot of things that were just really, really clever. And
Yeah.
she also did things that women of her age, and station, a widow with a ton of money would be expected to kind of, play the game of society or whatever. And she was like, nah, I just want to work on my house.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
that so much. Yeah, and I mean, and she just it's such a cool house, and it's been like an object of like admiration for me for so much of my life just because, well, one, it's like you hear all these stories growing up and you don't really know what's facts or and yeah, and I mean, honestly, just even having this conversation about the earthquake, I don't know how that never crossed my mind. Like, I lived through an
Yeah.
earthquake there. I know how
Yeah.
much damage that caused. Why would I not think about the fact that, like, oh, maybe there was some damage and she didn't want to
Yeah.
rebuild. So that's why there's stairs that lead to nowhere. That's why there's doors
Yeah.
that go to nowhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes logical sense.
Yeah.
And how are you going to confuse ghosts? They can walk through
I know,
walls.
right? I know.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely live there. That's different. But I don't think that there isn't really anything that like has happened there other than
Yeah.
like the stories about why she built, which
Yeah.
probably aren't true. So
Yeah.
um Well, we have about 10 minutes left. I love talking about ghosts and energy and psychic imprints and could probably just talk forever about it and pick your brain. I know you have so much knowledge on this. Um, was there anything that you learned while you were researching this that just like me in this moment didn't think about before and were like, wow, that's really never thought about it that way? Is there anything that sticks
Um,
out?
yeah, I think probably there's a chapter called Brutal Houses that talks about brutalism um, in in horror movies, essentially in the horror genre, and concrete. I learned so
Hmm.
much about concrete, and something I never really realized is how people think of it as this very permanent thing, and it can be absolutely beautiful. It can have these modern buildings with like cantilevered, roofs over the ocean in California. It's either sort of an evil lair for like Bond villains,
Yeah.
or very institutional, or there's tons of institutional, buildings that are concrete. It can be very malleable. It can be beautiful. It can be very harsh. It can be um, the home of someone extremely wealthy, um, or the projects. And one thing I never really thought about was that it actually doesn't age very well. It kind of crumbles from the inside. So this thing we think of as being so solid and so permanent. And for some people, like I love a beautiful modernist concrete structure, and a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's ugly. I hate that. I hate modernism." But the idea of this thing that we think of as being very eternal or forever as and harsh as concrete, um, yeah, it actually doesn't last that long. The rebar, the support used to support the steel used to support the concrete, it contains moisture. Concrete absorbs moisture, so it kind of ends up crumbling. Um, so I thought all of the stuff about concrete, I thought was absolutely fascinating.
So you learn more
Yeah,
about concrete than you had previously known.
yeah, absolutely. And I think there's other things about the way we think of. There's a chapter called Witch Houses, that is about essentially about the fear of uh, menopausal or older women who have single, never been married, never have children, living alone, that has always freaks people out. That people find so disturbing, and the crazy cat lady house,
Yeah.
that house on the corner that's deteriorating, that people assume is a witch house, you know. Getting into why that is, and getting to um, how we perceive women and older women, and how that's so connected to the home, is something that was really interesting and felt very personal to work on or to research. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it's always like, you have these like societal standards to, live by. And if you don't conform to what's expected of you by a certain age, then what's wrong with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are you really doing behind those walls? Why do you have all
Yeah.
those cats? How come
Yeah.
you're not, or it's like, even just talking about Sarah Winchester, where it's like,
Hmm.
oh, there's all these things. Here's all these stories about her because she just doesn't want to go out and hang out with other people. She wants to work
Yeah.
on her house.
Yeah.
Okay, well, she's talking to spirits and she's haunted by, numerous ghosts but maybe she just wanted to build her house.
Yeah. Yeah. And I would say the other thing that the big thing that learned about was the slave houses. And I was in New Orleans not that long ago, and found them all over the place. So I just have tons of pink half houses, or photos of tons of pink half houses. Um, so that was really fascinating to learn about.
Are they all pink?
They're not all pink, but a lot of them are. I don't know why. There's a lot of pink houses in the French Quarter.
Originally pink or just pink now?
I don't know. I don't know when they would have been painted. That's a good question. I'm sure
Makes
there's
me wonder.
someone from New Orleans who would know, like if pink was a really popular color for houses.
Or if it had some specific type of meaning, like a memorial of sorts, like this is what
Oh,
this is. Like this
maybe.
represents this, so when you see it, that's what it is. If you know what the structure looks like, you'll know when you see it anyway. But if a lot
Yeah,
of them are
yeah.
pink, it makes me wonder why.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
That's how we end up going down rabbit holes, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Exactly.
Um, well, I mean, yeah, I you inspired me also to speaking about concrete homes. I don't know necessarily that it was that chapter that you were just speaking about. It might have been a different one that I'm thinking of, but I just rewatched High Rise,
Yeah. Yeah, I
and
talk about that in that chapter.
it
Yeah.
is in that chapter. Okay.
Yeah.
I rewatched that, and then I started thinking about like all the communal like living spaces, these utopias, and
Hmm.
it made me remember the third Poltergeist too.
Yeah,
Is
which
the
is in an
same
apartment building.
that
Yeah.
same like that haunted. I mean, of course, the entity came from the outside, but
Yeah.
that same thing. It's like this high rise building, like modern, but then again, like it's still infiltrated by this entity.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me and talking about ghosts with me and haunted houses and structures and spaces of all kinds. And is there anything that you want to talk about upon leaving? Anything you have coming up, or just
I'm I'm working on another book about sound, about ghosts and sound. Um, I'm going to be at Lily Dale giving a talk at Shannon
cool?
Taggart's symposium. So speaking of spirits and talking to ghosts, I'm going to be giving a talk at Lily Dale, I'm super excited about in the summertime. But then I'm just going down a lot of other rabbit holes researching my next project.
I can't wait. I'm so excited for whatever comes of this
Mm,
new book that you're working on,
yeah,
because
yeah.
I love your writing. And if anybody has not read this book, why is my question. It is such an amazing book. And if you love haunted houses, architecture, and just ghosts and spirits in general, this is the book for you. I will read it again someday too. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
chatting with me. This was fun.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'm going to leave this up if it's okay if I add you as a collaborator, or I can just tag
Hmm.
you, whatever you prefer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think either, both. I'm not good at Instagram, I'll
Eh.
admit.
Okay, well, if anybody is watching this after or is watching this now and they decide they want to ask any more questions about ghosts or haunted spaces, feel free to do so beneath the video.
Yep.
Otherwise, thank you so much. And I hope you have a good rest of your evening. And I look forward to your future works.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yay. All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Bye.